wasn't.
Oh, good job. Good thing you checked.
So I guess the question really becomes,
Let's see.
We're on.
We're on. Okay. Okay. Well, good morning. I know we're actually physically a little closer today, so we don't have to maybe use this microphone as much. But so as you know, we in the past when we've gotten together, we've put our proposals on the screen and we've allowed those to be released to the public. So we wanted to just ask if y'all would reconsider allowing for the public to review the parties' proposals.
Basically, just as public education, currently, under the local government code on chapter 143, 305, does not allow the release of documents until the contract has been ratified. So those documents are held, it's basically a work product. And under the local government code 142-062 is the statewide meet and confer statute. 143-300 is the Austin meet and confer statute. It allows documents to be released when the contract is ready to be ratified. Now, I believe that we're covered by 143-300s and that the documents are not allowed to be released until the contract is ratified. But we've conceded that, though we disagree that we're covered by 142, we think it should be released prior to ratification. I think we conceded that. There's also a question, I don't believe, under 143-300s that requires any type of public meeting. So it's not in the statute, it is in other meet and confer and bargaining, it's in 142. But we'll concede that they be open to the public. We think that's the best. But we don't think at this time we want to release work product documents. We'll comply with 142-062, but we're not at this point wanting to release documents that are just going back and forth. The public will have a right to see everything. Much time, I think the mayor even said, whatever timelines people could review, come to council, so forth. So at this point, we're not prepared to release those documents.
Okay, well, we understand your position, and we also understand that was a condition to come to the table. So, we'll still probably keep asking, but, I will say that last meeting, we were encouraged by, the efforts that we've seen in consideration of the city's proposal. And since we're not sharing these documents publicly, I wanted to give a little summary of where we're at. So, as y'all know, part of the city's overall proposal includes eliminating the G file under 143.089 Texas Local Government Code. So our proposal includes preemption of G. And we also believe this may require us to preempt subsection 143.089B and C, as the language within those particular subsections refer back to the personnel file described in G of 143.089. So we're going to take a closer look at that. We might have those suggestions and changes as we take a closer look at the actual implementation of this. And if you recall from our first meeting, we didn't actually finish presenting all of our proposals. We stopped at around Article 16, 17. And I think we all agree that we need to get through this issue first. Like, this is the river to cross before we get to the others. And so that's fine, that we're still on this and we've not gotten to the rest of our proposals. And just to kind of reiterate, the city's proposal does not mean that personal information is just going to get, willy-nilly released to the public. Our proposal and, what is also in line with Prop A is reliance on the Texas Public Information Act to keep certain personal information private. And we can certainly get into that a little bit more in detail with y'all. But anyways, I'll stop talking now and let you guys give us an update as to where y'all are at.
I would ask, when the city receives an open records request on an officer's personnel file, has the police department ever used any of the exemptions under 552, that's the Open Records Act, other than 552-101, which just says records are confidential if set by another law? But does the city go in when they get a request and they look at the document? Do they analyze that document to determine whether it falls into one of the other categories? There's a lot of exemptions in the Public Records Act. Or does the city look at it and go, well, that's a G and it's confidential?
So I think what we can do, I'm happy to answer your question. I think each request, to kind of qualify my response, each request obviously is going to have a different analysis and it's going to go to a specific place to get that information. But I think what we can do maybe is have a presentation of how that process will work, post G and pre, whether the G file is in place or whether it's not in place, and we can kind of go through what that will look like and the exceptions that are used by the city when there is no 552-101, which incorporates the G file, and the other exceptions that we use in our brief to the AG. So we can provide a presentation on that.
I can answer a little bit more.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
And I can give you just a little bit more. The city attorney's office has one attorney whose almost complete job is to do just that. And she does that on each of the requests for the police department. So it's not just, they have an open records section for general requests. Separately, they have an attorney assigned just to the police department for that purpose. So that's all she does.
Just a side question. So when you get these requests, and this is talking as if there were no G file, what would happen to documents? Because this public argument that they're secret files, I'll say this again, there are no secret files. There is no document which somebody isn't looking at. Now, whether it can be released to the general public, the state of Texas and the federal government has a laundry list of things, executive sessions of the council, there's all kinds of things you have to go in and look at, and the state has said this record is open to the public, this record is not. So there's a list of those. So when you get those, and you have a look at it, and you think, well, I'm not quite sure whether this is open to the public or not, or whether it's confidential, is the officer notified that that document may be released applying to them? Or the officer allowed to come down to the, wherever this is at and say, look, I'm looking, this is the document, someone asked for this, and it applies to you, and we think this is gonna be open to the public unless you've got some other thing that tells me that this fits into currently the G file or one of the 552 exceptions.
So there are, so the Texas Public Information Act is kind of complicated. So there may be certain requirements to notify, and certain instances where we would not notify per that particular act. But we can go in and find out a little bit more and come back with y'all as to how that process actually works here with the City of Austin.
Okay. In light of this, where we're at now, has the city determined whether or not, if there were no G file, whether records that have been protected by law forever since whenever G was put in the statutes, are those records, if we were to have a contract without a G file, or is that going to be prospective, that will be the new state of the law? Or are you going to release records that have been protected under a previous statute? Because we're exempting the existing law.
So as we're working through kind of the actual practical implementation of not having a G file, I think logically it makes sense and in line with the parties' expectations of this whole meet and confer process that it be prospective. We know we need to negotiate for certain things that cannot be done unilaterally. So, you know, it's not a secret that the city's proposal on certain issues relating to oversight is intended to, you know, fit and be in line with Prop A. And the 2018 contract has since expired. So we're also working with the section of 143, as you mentioned earlier, that govern our ability to even meet and confer. And so that also states that when we haven't agreed on terms that we fall back to the state statute. So I think logically it does make sense to look at things prospectively. We can get you like an official city response on that, but we're working through those actual practical implementation of it as well.
Okay. I don't have anything else in reference to the personnel files. I do agree that we both have other non-economic and some smaller, well, we're really not put economics on the table yet until we determine. And I guess at some point we need to try to work through what other of these major issues about, well, definitions, talk about personnel files, the statute of limitations on discipline. The city has proposal, the association does, and if you look at what the ordinance says, there's some variance. And the question of grievance over oversight, and I'll restate our position. There is no oversight in this contract. It's our intent, I think the city's intent. You're allowed to do an oversight, whatever the law allows you to do. But the contract itself, we can't have provisions that we don't control violating the contract without us ability to determine whether or not it breached the contract. So we're open to that discussion of how the city sees that, but we're not going to agree to somebody could just show up, violate the contract and go, gotcha, you can't do anything about it. Well, we're not going to do that. There is no oversight in our proposal. And as to date, there's no oversight in the cities. Just like you have an ordinance, you got other laws, the city will comply with whatever those are, but you can't, if we have a contract, you can't come over and violate the contract and say, yeah, but that's over. Well, it's not, because the oversight's not in here. You can only do an oversight what the law allows you to do. And that way, we're not bargaining over that. You can do that. So anyway, that's kind of the four areas that I pulled out, kind of major issues. And we're prepared to discuss all of those, what they mean, how the city sees their path to get those things done. And we'll talk about what our concerns are on those four areas. Anything else?
Okay, and we will, we're also gonna be discussing these issues as well in our team. As far as next meetings, did we want to make that be that kind of like a presentation, how we walk through the TPIA process?
So let me be clear on your question. Are you looking for how it is currently done, how it would be done, or how it's currently done in other cities that don't have a G file, or a little bit of both?
Both.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that, and then, we'll be in touch about some next dates then.
Yeah. And we'll take a look between now and the next date on trying to think through some of these issues and maybe get some clarity of how the city sees, and then we'll work off of those. So we'll try to make some progress at the table at the next meeting.
That sounds good.
Anything else?
We have nothing further on our end.
Well, we appreciate your
Well, I
time.
guess I should
Oh,
probably-
go ahead. Oh, no.
Yes.
Sorry, Jessica.
So I will be transitioning out of the chair of the bargaining committee, hopefully upon promotion. So Tyler will be the new chair. You're in very good hands, so I am flying the nest.
Well, then congratulations.
Thank you.
We're not letting her escape.
She says.
Congratulations.
She thinks she's getting away, but we're keeping the brain power here.
Okay, then we'll be in touch with y'all about setting up some dates.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.